Welcome to the Studio Success Formula Podcast, the business school for dance studio owners. And now for your host, Clint Salter.
Hello, dance studio owners. It's Clint Salter here, your host for the Studio Success Formula Podcast. And welcome to today's extremely special interview. Now, I'm more than excited to bring you today's guest. And our guest is one of a kind, and I knew before the interview that she was amazing and going to give you some amazing value when it comes to how to really step into the role of the CEO in your business, how to be a leader in your business and lead others. And we talk a lot about that and how to really support your staff around change when you're implementing new systems and procedures into your business. But one thing that we talked a lot about that was so impactful for me interviewing her, but I know is going to really change the way you think about your life, is we talk a lot about purpose and passion and finding your why and why you get out of bed in the morning. And these aren't new concepts. Lots of people talk about it, but the way that Holly taps into this and explains and gives you actually tactical steps and even an exercise on how to really draw out your why is phenomenal. I am so excited to share this with you. Now, her name is Holly Dowling, and let me give you her little bio. She really encompasses the mantra, live life with passion. Holly is an inspirational thought leader and global expert in strengths-based leadership with a passion for leading others to create and embrace the best version of themselves. And don't we all want that for ourselves, but we also want to impart those teachings onto our students and to our teachers. Holly is renowned for her dynamic and unique approach in leading both individuals and companies to their highest levels of performance and discovering new opportunities for success. Guys, you are in for a massive treat. And we give you a few exercises in this interview. So once you've done them, I'd love for you to jump on social media, find Holly, find us, Studio Success Formula, and tell us a little bit about the results that you got from doing these exercises that Holly talks about in this interview. Enjoy it. I'm pretty positive that you will. Hey, Holly, how are you? Thanks so much for joining us today.
Hey, Clint, I'm fabulous. How are you?
Awesome. Great to have you. Now, Holly, I'd love to start. For those that might not know much about you and your work, can you please tell us what it is that you do in the world and how you support amazing entrepreneurs and business owners to get more from their life and their day?
You know what? I love the way you just asked me that question. I think everyone should have the answer to that question. And to be frank with you and perfectly honest, my business is global because I love to empower and inspire people to help rediscover their gifts, their talents, what makes them amazing and unique, and then share that with the world and go after their dreams. That's it, right there.
And do you think that that's what everyone wants out of life?
Oh, I love the way you just asked that. I think down deep inside, it's what every human being around the world craves and yearns to do, but I do believe that over time and life, it suppresses and we lose sight of that it even existed.
And why do you think that is? Do you think it's outside factors? I mean, is it our parents saying, you can't do that, you've got to get a job that actually pays you money, that is, secure? Is it our self-doubt? Like, what are some of those things do you believe that makes us not, I guess, step into our full potential and our passion?
Oh, and Clint, I'm just going to say something right now. I think it's all of that and more. And I think that going back to even our childhood, I do believe, and it's with great intention, right? I don't believe that parents set out to say, I'm going to crush your dreams. Everyone in our world, right? Teachers, whoever that might be, a guardian, but people we look up to think they're doing their job by making sure we're staying focused and we're aligned, and this is what the world expects. And I have to tell you, can I tell you a quick story?
Please.
Okay, well, the fact that you just asked that, I go back to one of the things I love to share with the youth, and your studio owners will love this story, especially when they're sharing it with the all of the people that are a part of their studios and what they're doing. But going back to when I was a child, I had a dream, and that was as a little girl, and I think we all have dreams. It's what happens with those. And long story short, I had a dream from watching, you're probably too young to know this, but there was a show that I loved called Love Boat. Do you ever remember hearing about that?
Oh, yeah, I know that song.
All right, you know the song. I had a dream that I wanted to be Julie on the Love Boat. And it started by, as a little girl, watching that on TV at like 6 or 7 years old. Go forward till I'm 20 and, being in college and thinking I'm doing the right thing. And I call to say I'm going to quit college because I want to go travel the world. And my father so lovingly, but with, a very, very strict voice, said, on my dead body, will you quit college? You will finish and you will then go live your dreams. So with that said, I use the mantra, tell me no and watch me go. But I've never allowed the world to shut it down. It fueled me. And so within 6 months, Clint, through another whole story of going to the library and looking up cruise ships. And then I found phone numbers and I called them and I said, do you ever hire people? And who do you hire? And I heard every reason why I would never get hired. You have to speak 10 languages. You have to live in a certain country. All these excuses. And you know what? I thought, tell me no, watch me go. I made a cover letter and a resume on hot pink paper. I sent it to 19 cruise ships and I got 2 job offers within a month. And I ended up moving to Papeete, Tahiti, and worked as the social hostess aboard the SS Liberté. And I sent a thank you note to every person that told me I would never do it, to make sure that they knew that if you believe in your dreams and you go after it, you can achieve what you love.
I love that. I love that story. And and I mean, how have you taken that through the rest of your life and career? Because as we know, I think no matter how passionate we are, no matter, what work we're doing in terms of the work that we love, we're on purpose. I mean, there's challenges that come up. So I guess how have you applied that when you are faced with a challenge? Because our studio owners, they love what they do. They're passionate, but it's a roller coaster like it is for any entrepreneur, and things come up that are unexpected or might hurt or don't impact us positively. I mean, what are your thoughts around that, I guess, persistence and resilience piece?
And I love that you use the word persistence and resilience. And so to take that story, I have to tell you also, you're the first person I've ever shared that story with via. You're going to be the first. So when that goes live, I've only shared that from stage a few times or with the youth. So I just thought you'd like to know that. That's
Thank you.
Yeah. But honestly, I think you've really got to have your why. Meaning, why are you getting up in the morning? What's your passion? What's your purpose? Because life is going to be full of ups and downs. I mean, it is. It's full of hurdles. And I don't look at a step down as a step backwards. I think many times we have to be open and ready, knowing if you're truly focused and truly centered and know what your values are and you know what your passions are and your purpose of why you're getting up every day and what it is that's driving you, those hurdles, they're not a big brick wall. Yes, you're going to have to move through it and push through it, but you've got to tap in. Your greatest goodness in you is you're tapping into your resilience. And that resilience, I would love to have all of your studio owners really ask themselves this question, Clint, and that is, when faced with adversity and uncertainty, do you get bitter or do you get better? Because we all have it. It's what do we do with it? How do we grow from it rather than run from it?
I love that. Do you get better or do you get bitter? And I mean, in that moment, we have the power, only us, we have the power to make the decision of what we're going to do with the event. Event plus response equals the outcome, which Jack Canfield talks about. And I love just how you said that, because it's so true. Now, Holly, some of our studio owners might be listening to this at the gym or in the car with their kids or making the lunches for the kids before they go off to school. I'd love to know if we're kind of listening to this and thinking, I don't know why I wake up in the morning. Like, I actually don't know what my why is, which I think, would you agree, is a lot of people. Like, when asked that question, they can't articulate. They actually are not 100% sure what their why is. What are some tactical things that we can do to get some more clarity around that?
Okay, so I'm going to tell you right out of the gate, if you're driving, don't do this. But at some point, right? But at some point, I would challenge everyone out there. first and foremost, you need to completely unplug for a minimum of 10 minutes. I'm just going to ask you to do this for 10 minutes in the next 24 to 48 hours. If you can do it 30 minutes, do it. I need you to go somewhere where you can be completely alone, completely unplugged from the world. That means no phones, no TVs, no computers. Take a blank piece of white paper and a pen or a pencil. Go take a walk, go sit on a bench, go to a room that's quiet with no distractions, and get completely alone with yourself. And in that moment, I need you to write 2 things at the top of the page. I love to, I dream to. Start every line and start writing. I love to. What do you love to do? What do you dream to do? You know, it's sad, but it's also really scary, Clint, how many people have lost their why because they've so far removed from their dreams and what they love to do. They're like a hamster in a hamster wheel going through the motions. And yet we don't pause long enough to unplug, to rekindle those passions and that purpose of who we are. I promise you, if you will remove yourself from the world for a mere 10 to 15 minutes, and we can't make people do this, right? I'll never know if you really do it.
That's right.
But we'd love to hear from them if they do. You will see magic begin on a piece of paper. And what happens to the brain, and I'm sure you know this with studio dance owners and people that are really in the highest level of the form of art and the greatest gifts, knowing how their bodies, and all of the gifts of art, you have to be so in tune with who you are. And you've got to stop letting the world dictate what you're doing and why. You have to own the why. And when you can own your why, amazing things begin to happen. You can step into a space that you're not afraid of. You can overcome the hurdles and the trials that get in your way because you have the confidence, because you're so solid in knowing this is why I'm here, this is my purpose, and this is why I get up in the morning.
I love that. And we talk a lot about taking time out with our studio owners as well to kind of tune into themselves and just sit with themselves for a little while, because as with a lot of business owners, studio owners are wearing multiple hats. They're flying around all the time. They're at home doing emails and then they're rushing to the studio, and a lot of them are still teaching themselves and running the business and being the marketing manager and the office manager and everything in between. So I think that that's a really important message. And like Holly said, we would love to hear from you. If you do this exercise, jump over to social media and let us know. And on that topic of social media, do you think that has impacted us to be able to really find our why, because we're looking at everyone else's all the time?
Totally. I think it's like all things, everything in balance. I think there's a lot of positives, right? Look at how social media has connected you and I. We're Australia and we're Arizona, and we're having a conversation right now that could change lives around the world. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, that didn't exist. So the positive is it's uniting us and it's connecting us, and we're collaborating in ways we never could. But to your point, absolutely. I think it's causing us to put ourselves into feeling that we need to live up to the world's expectations. And we're starting to believe we have to do or want things that others want for us versus what we want.
I love it. I spoke with someone earlier. We did a virtual summit, Dance Teachers Unite, last year in 2015, and one of our guests said, why do we wake up in the morning and like everyone else's life before we like our own? And I love that because it's so true. I know there's mornings when I sit in bed and I go through the news feed and I'm doing a lot of liking, but without taking that time for myself. And so I love that message, and I think that complements exactly what you just said then. Holly, I want to talk about leadership because you work with some brilliant leaders, and for our studio owners, a lot of them have started as dance teachers because they love dance and they love children and they love creating. And so they're like, wow, I love this dance teaching thing. I should open up a studio and become a business owner. But the hard thing, which so many of them find out so quickly, is what it takes to teach dance and run a business are two very different things. So how can our studio owners really effectively tap into their leadership skills and being a leader, I guess really kind of flicking the switch and changing that mindset, going from someone who's in the thick of it, teaching every day, to someone that is a leader, that is essentially the CEO of their company?
Boy, as I was listening to you, I was just imagining all the dynamics that are going on internally right, with these folks as they're thinking about that shift. What if I were to give them permission right now to let go of thinking that you really need to change? You don't need to start changing anything. You need to look at leadership. And this is one of the greatest gifts that I've been very blessed to help empower people with globally. And that is, Clint, leadership, you don't need a title to lead. You lead every day by how we influence others. And when you can stop and pause and realize that by leading, you're giving people a gift. If you're truly the essence of the best leader, you've really been bestowed upon you a privilege to help others identify their greatest gifts and then leverage those and bring them. And what that would look like for a teacher, I'm going to go hypothetical here, but let's take one of your clients, a teacher that's now going to wear the hat of running a studio, owning a studio, wearing that business mind. Well, one of the best things they can do for themselves is to not try to be all things to everybody. There's a reason they were an amazing teacher. Now what you need to do is stay focused on that and align yourself with a few people that really love running a business. There's a lot of people that you don't have to hire full time. You can find consultants and part-time people that by you reaching out and saying, I'd love to leverage your gifts, your strengths at being an amazing marketing person or the guru at running a business. How can I engage you? Because the best leaders are not the most well-rounded people. It's actually the polar opposite. The best leaders are people that have become very good at surrounding themselves with other people that have identified their very best and leveraged it. So I think that's the golden key, is to take the pressure off feeling you have to do all these things and begin to find other people. There might be someone sitting in your own studio, a parent of a child that would love nothing more than to give back. There's all kinds of people around us, but no one knows if we don't start asking.
Yeah. And I think you've touched on a really interesting point, which is really about surrounding yourself with people who have strengths in areas where you don't have strengths. And so many of our studio owners feel like they need to exactly be all things to all people. And what they see, and I talk a lot about, building a team around you, and similar to you, they don't need to be full-time. They can be contractors and consultants and part-time people, and you can start having a receptionist for 5 hours a week to help you out. A lot of them go, but I don't have the money to do that. I'm just going to do it all myself forever, because I don't have the money to employ people, even a couple of hours a week. I've just started my business. I mean, what do you say to that?
I have two different angles that I would approach. Let me start with the first one, and then I'll go to the second one. The first one is, why not barter your services? Why not engage? People love to barter. I barter that. I will love to help you, and how can you help me? So why not see who would be willing to share a few hours a week to help you manage the studio, to help you give them the business savvy to run it, the marketing, and then you give them free lessons, or offer that as a lesson that's for a loved one or someone that can't afford it. Bartering is a wonderful way to build a business when you're starting off, especially as a beginning business owner. I've done a lot of that. I also find there's another angle, and that is people love the opportunity to have an internship, just to be exposed to the life of being in a studio. So why not give somebody the opportunity that maybe is going to pursue a second degree or a higher level of education? Let them bring their expertise in what they want to do and give them the opportunity to be an intern for you. So you can they work for free, but they're leveraging time and opportunities to shadow you, to be a protege of you. So there's a couple different ways. And then the third thing I'm going to offer up is that, and it was the hardest thing, Clint, for me as well. I have to say I had to break this paradigm shift that I lived in, and to really get into wearing a new set of glasses, and that to really grow, you have to be willing to put some money and invest in it. You have to invest in yourself and where you want to go. That doesn't mean it needs to be a lot of money, but you need to get smart about how you are leveraging the resources you have that are right under your nose, and be willing to invest a little. And once you are willing to get over that hump, amazing things can happen.
Isn't that the truth? Is a theme that comes across all the time when I talk to people that are doing awesome work like yourself in the world, is invest in yourself, invest in education, invest in growing and learning. Because I think you're of the same school of me that we never stop learning. We're always learning. And so can you talk a little bit about, I guess, some of the mentors maybe that have impacted your life and your business?
That's a great question. And I get asked that. And it's interesting. I would have to say that as far as actual true mentors, I've been one of those, I'm going to say an odd soul or spirit in this world, that I've always just kind of had this innate drive of, I know what I want, and it starts to manifest. And then I have to go against a lot of the world saying no, no, no to make it happen. So when I think about the truest mentors, they're usually the people in my life that believe in me. They're not necessarily some great, well-known, guru out there. It's usually the people like yourself, people that we have a common DNA in how we approach life. And those are the people that I like to surround myself with. I'm very picky about the people that I will challenge your listeners, Clint. Pay attention to who you're spending your discretionary time with, because people can be very uplifting or they can be very depleting. And we have to get very selfish with our time. There's a saying, you have to get selfish before you can become selfless. And by really getting clear on who and where are you spending your time, you can begin to be influenced by the people you want to be influenced. So just like your mastermind call you do, you're being very intentional about putting yourself in situations to be around people that are uplifting. I would ask everybody to look at the 5 people you're spending your most valuable time with, because those people are an indication of who you're going to become. So pay close attention to who. So it's really more about the people in the seasons of my life that have been there to cheer me on, the balcony people that believe in me, and those that I believe in them. I think we all need those in our life, and you should handpick them and make sure you're reaching out to them when you need them on a down day.
Thanks for sharing that. Because it really is about the people that you surround yourself with. And I'm a big believer that sometimes I spend a lot of time, on my own, and so many people say to me, but you're such an extrovert and you're always going out. And I'm like, well, actually, most of my time actually is spent alone because I say no to a lot of things. And I think some people find it really tough. And I know our studio owners find it incredibly difficult to say no. And so can you talk a little bit about, I guess, your experience with saying no to things and how that has actually benefited you as a person, as a human being, but also in your business?
Oh my gosh, if you could see me, I am smiling. I am literally ready to jump. I'm so excited that you just brought that up. And here's why. If we could just have a platform, it's actually part of the 3 pillars that I do a lot around, which is really owning your brand and your presence, right? And the 3rd pillar is courage. And the courage is the power of no. Man, it's so liberating, Clint. I mean, right now my hands are up in the air. I'm so excited that you just brought this up because we run from no. We think something's, I could tell you endless stories. I mean, if we had all day to be on this, on this podcast recording, I'd spend all day with you because there's so many stories of, there's nothing I'm going to share with you that I haven't lived myself. But we're so brilliant at making a volcano out of an anthill because we think if we're going to say no, people are going to die or we're going to let the world down and somebody's going to be devastated. And really, at the end of the day, when you can start being really picky and really knowing and owning where you're spending your time and you start saying no, the beauty of what happens is you begin to open up opportunities to say yes, where you are going to be leveraged at your very best. And I have so many stories of over years of constantly learning how to say no and to say no that ended up turning into the biggest opportunity of a lifetime that I could say yes to because I stopped letting the world make me be afraid of saying no. And there is power in no. And if that's another thing that our listeners could just walk away with is you really are doing yourself and everyone around you a gift when you can begin saying no. For one, because sometimes we say yes and the world is cringing, right? I mean, Clint, there's people that raise their hand and say yes to 100 things and everybody around is like cringing going, oh no, not you again. You're not the person to be doing it.
Put your hand down.
Please, or I'll take it down for you. But when you can, and then the best part is that, let's face it, we're all human. And I could guarantee you, if the person out there that's saying yes to everything, you know what's happening inside? They are moaning and groaning, and they are just dreading all of these things they've said yes to. And you know what's happening to the people around them? It's the ripple effect. Everyone else is feeling the loss of energy, that negative, oh, I'm already dreading this. You don't realize it, gang, but it is a ripple effect. When you are doing things you love, everyone around you experiences the power of that, even at home when you go home. When you're doing things you dread and you've overcommitted and you're just in that cloud of, oh, here I go again, everyone feels it. They don't feel your energy. They're depressed being around you. I mean, I could go on and on, Clint. You opened up a can there, my friend.
Look, I'm totally with you. And I've seen it. It's like when you go out for dinner or you go to a party and there's just that person where you're like, you don't want to be here, do you? You know, you just know, you don't, you know, and I'm similar. I was out for a dinner with some friends the other night, and we had a beautiful dinner. And by the end of it, I was like, I've had a lovely night. I want to leave. And they wanted to go out and, have some more drinks and whatever. And I said, and they're like, oh, come. And I was like, no, I've loved spending time with you. But I'm ready to go home now. And I went home, and I've been doing that probably for a few years now, saying no when I'm ready to leave something, or no to an opportunity that I don't want to explore. And it is such an amazing feeling to be able to say no. So I want us to challenge our studio owners to remember that no is a complete sentence.
Oh, yes. And do you know what else you do for people, whether you realize it or not? And you're doing this for the people around you, Clint. Just by having the confidence and the ability, the empower to say no, you're actually leading others and giving them permission to do it. So whether they may say it or not, it's funny, but as human beings, we need to see other people do it. And I tell leaders this, the more you can begin to empower yourself and say no, you're actually giving others the freedom and permission to do it as well. So it's a ripple effect in itself. And I'm so grateful. And I have to go back to something. You know how you said people, you're really not an extrovert, but you like to be at home and you like to do your own thing. I have to be honest with you. People think that of myself. So I'm on the road a lot and I go all over the world speaking, and people mean well, but they want to invite you to dinner. They want, and it's very gracious. But when I've been on all day, I'm giving you everything I have. I'm so fully engaged, invested, that the ideal, I call it my fill up and my decompress, is I go hide in my hotel room and I can't wait to have room service or go eat by myself, right? But I'm filling up. That's the fill up for me.
And there's nothing better, is there? I mean, I just came back from doing 3 weeks in the US, speaking at some dance conventions, and those night times, I'm telling you, exactly the same. In bed, because you guys over in the US have so many more television stations than we do, and I'd sit and watch like home renovations and eat my dinner and go to bed. It was amazing.
And you loved it.
I loved every second of it. Holly, you talked about your 3 pillars that you teach all over the world. You mentioned the last one, which is courage. Quickly, what are the other 2 pillars?
Oh, the first one is clarity. You got to know where you're going. Clarity of vision. Where do you want to be in a year from now, 3 years from now, and 5 years from now? I do a whole piece around that. It's amazing how many people don't take the time to just figure that one out. And then the second one is grace. It's who are you when no one's watching? It's the tapping into your resilience. It's when faced with adversity and uncertainty, do you get bitter or better? So really owning who you really are and how do you handle trials and tribulations? Do you let them define you or refine you? So it's a very important one. And then thirdly is the courage. And courage is the power of no. It's also, Clint, about standing up for what you stand for. So that's another piece that's amazing. People really struggle with that. But standing up for what you stand for and having work-life balance, which starts with work-life boundaries. So those are the 3 pillars. We could have a ball going through those.
Yeah. Work-life boundaries. I love this, and I want to know a little bit more about it, because our studio owners, as you probably know, are running businesses, but they're also looking after their household and their families and their partners and their children. How have you been able to manage that process, and what advice do you give to others that have their own business that are trying to make all things work as well as possible?
Yeah, and I'm really glad we're tapping into that, because I think that, for many of us, many people out there having children, and having raised children myself, and having your partners, your significant others, your spouses, there's so much going on in our personal lives. But work-life balance does not happen without having work-life boundaries. So the first thing I would ask people to do is define your non-negotiables. What are you going to say is an absolute non-negotiable? For me, and this was harder than I ever imagined, but I did it, Clint, and that was years ago, before my children were grown and gone out of the house. I was traveling a ton on weekends and Sundays because I was scared to say no to a potential client. It's been my own business for years, right? What if I said no to traveling on a Sunday? They wouldn't hire me back. That's what I was afraid of. But I started putting in non-negotiables. One was, I'm always going to be home on a Sunday. I will travel on a Monday, but Sundays was my family day, and I'm not missing it. And you know what? Nobody died. I literally did that, made a volcano out of an anthill. And I said to a client, I cannot travel till a Monday. I thought they'd say, well, we can't have you then. And their words were, okay, what time could you be here on Monday? Wow, really? I waited forever to do that. But what are your non-negotiables? Get your priorities right. Your family does matter. Your family's most likely your why. Why are you getting up in the morning? So you can provide a great lifestyle. And I, as a mother with children, it was really important to me that my children saw me going after my dreams. And now I have 3 grown boys that are all pursuing their dreams and their passions. And I'm not saying that being a parent is easy, because let me tell you, that's the hardest job in the world that I've ever done. But give yourself permission to know that even by having work-life boundaries, you're helping to lead by example to everyone in your life. So you need to do it for you so you can help those around you see that you can have success by having your priorities right.
So powerful, because it's a conversation, as you can imagine, we have a lot in our program and in our association with our studio owners, trying to make it all work. So that's perfect. I know you're a victor for change, and you talk a lot about change management. A lot of companies get you in to talk about change management. A conversation that we have frequently with our studio owners is, they generally come to us because they want to bridge that gap between dance teacher and business owner, entrepreneur. And so what we have them do is implement new processes and systems into their business. And a lot of the time they say, we're doing these things, we're getting great results, but our staff are resisting a little bit, in terms of our office staff and some of our teachers are resisting the new processes and systems we're putting in place. How can we kind of help them understand them better, or, be a part of what we're trying to do for the greater good? So I'd love to get some of your feedback on how we can facilitate change within our small studio with our team, so that we don't get everyone kind of offside and they get afraid. Because I believe anyway, with change, it's mainly about people are fearful for what that change is going to do to them and their role and what they do day to day. So what advice do you have for our studio owners who are maybe wanting to implement some changes to better their business, but they've got some resistance happening from their staff?
Yeah, and you just nailed it. What really happens the minute, as human beings, the minute we see or hear the word change, we start shaking. Because as human beings, right, change is fear. And the greatest thing that the studio owners can do, and I would say this to the leader of a multi-billion-dollar organization going through change, you have to help people shift from being a victim of change to being a victor of change, meaning give them an opportunity to leverage and be accountable for how they can help bring and make this change happen through them bringing their very best. So what would that look like, Clint, to one of your studio owners listening right now? I would say immediately. When do you have your next team meeting? How often are you having team meetings? On the next one, or if you don't have one around the corner, set one up. Sit down with them. Give people an opportunity. Instead of, change is so typically done to people versus doing it with them. Stop telling them what's happening and get them to be a part of the journey. And what that could look like is sitting in the studio with nobody else there, the team there, and making it a team experience. Here's what our goals are. Here's the direction I'm looking for us to go. I want to know how best to help you bring your very best to make this happen. What ideas do you have? What ideas do you have in bringing what you would love to do to be a part of this? Get them to be a part of the journey versus it being put on them and on their head and shoulders. It is a dramatic shift that will happen when people get to raise their hand and get excited about having a voice in how we're going to do this. The voice also gives them action. They will begin moving to help make it happen. That is one conversation that can happen tomorrow night, Clint, for your studio owners.
Oh my goodness. Yes. I mean, I've got that big smile now and I'm super excited because I think of me when I had my studio, and I think of the studio owners that I'm working with now in our programs, in our mastermind group. And I'm like, my goodness, this is so amazing. It's a process that they definitely need to be a part of, and doing it with them is such a key message that I think all studio owners need to hear, more importantly, put into practice. Holly, I could talk to you probably for days. I want to just fly over to Scottsdale, Arizona right now and spend some time with you. To wrap up our conversation, what would you love to leave our studio owners with? What's coming to you? What would you love to tell them?
Oh, I love that you just asked me that. All right, I'm going to tell you two things. And I actually thought about this as we've been talking. I want to give your studio owners that are going to be listening, I just love your energy, Clint. I love your passion. I love what you've done. I want to give them a secret sneak peek at something that's getting ready to be launched globally. And that is a company called Tracham. It is a community that connects people in the music, the arts, the dance, from producers to choreographers to writers to screenplay to you name it, everybody in the fashion arts community. And it is a passion of my son in Chicago, who has been working for almost a year to get this launched. And it's getting ready to be launched live globally. And I want you all to be some of the first to know about it. And so you go to tracham.com. You'll love this, Clint. It's make art backwards, tracham.com. And you'll see the countdown to launch. And I got permission to be able, him and his team, to be able to share with you all so that you can be some of the first to know about it, because I think you guys will be ecstatic on what this community will do for all of you, and love to see you guys engage in that. And also what I'd love to leave your listeners with, if there's one thing at the end of this call, I close my eyes as I say this because I'm so passionate about it. May today be the first day that you begin creating a life that fits you, rather than living a life of fitting in.
Thank you, Holly. Wow, what a powerful conversation we've had today, and one that I know is going to greatly serve our studio owners. I so deeply appreciate your time, and I know a lot of them are going to want more information about you and what you do. So can you share with us where they can find you for more details?
I would love to. Yes. Website, hollydowling.com. You can follow me on Twitter. I will make sure, I think you have all of that information on Facebook. Go to Holly Dowling. Yes, I would love to stay engaged with everybody. And I mean this, Clint. If they have success stories, share with us that you go do your 10 minutes of unplugging and start writing your dreams down. I love to celebrate with people and be your cheerleader. So please follow me on Twitter, on Facebook, share your success stories on my website. And I have a book to keep you motivated. I put together 50 of my favorite, most passionate inspirations, some of which you've even heard on this podcast I've been sharing with you. And it's available on Amazon or on the website, and it's called hollyisms.com. Hollyisms is my book, and it's hollyisms.com. So, love. Thank you.
Fantastic. Guys, make sure you go and check out Holly's book and the great work that she's doing in the world. And like Holly said, please reach out. Tell us what you have done. I'd suggest that you block out some time in your diary over the next 48 hours to really do that exercise, but put it in your diary and have that time to yourself. I also suggest that you re-listen to this interview a couple of times because there were so many gold nuggets. I know that I will be, and taking more notes. Thanks again, Holly. So great to connect with you, and again, really appreciate your time with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Clint, and stay amazing. You are amazing.
Are you enjoying the Studio Success Formula podcast? Then we'd love for you to share the love. We want to help more dance studio owners become go-to studios, so we'd greatly appreciate you writing us a review on iTunes. For taking the time out to do so, every month, Clint will be selecting one lucky dance studio owner to receive a Power Business Coaching session. Simply visit the iTunes store today, search for Studio Success Formula, click on ratings and reviews, and then write your review. Thanks in advance. Take care, and we'll see you next time.